Hello, my clinician friends. This episode is for you. And I want to challenge something that maybe gets said a lot in our field that isn't true. Therapists only burn out because they work too much. And yes, that can be a part of it. But a lot of the time, it's not just about the workload. It's about the condition your body and your brain are in while you're doing the work. Because you can have a manageable schedule, even some reasonable outer hours and some steady caseloads, and still feel exhausted, still feel irritable, and mentally drained, like you have nothing left to give. So, today we're going to talk about why burnout isn't just about the work, it's about how we sleep, how we manage our nutrition, our movement, and how that impacts your capacity to show up in your sessions. We're going to talk about the emotional load and your regulation and how to actually build a sustainable system into your life. Let's get into this together.
Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpack mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat.
So, I want to reframe that burnout is a capacity problem. Burnout isn't always I work too much. It's often not enough capacity for the work that I'm doing. And capacity is actually influenced by how we sleep, what kind of nutrition we have, our movement, our stress, and our emotional load. So, two therapists can have the exact same schedule and experience it completely differently based on these aspects and factors that we need to actively think about so that we can show up to the sessions the way we really want to. So, let's first talk about sleep. And this is a non negotiable because this is foundational. If your sleep is off, everything else is just going to be so much harder for you. You'll see lower patience within yourself. You'll have lower focus. You're going to have more emotional reactivity and just slower recovery times of you bouncing back. And as a clinician, that really does matter because you're not just showing up physically for your clients, you're showing up mentally and emotionally for them. So, managing and monitoring your sleep is super important. One of the things that I use is called Brain FM. And I put a link in the show notes if this is something that you're wanting to consider. Brain FM uses music to make your brain go into different states. And it's not just the binary parts of sleep that we've talked about, but it helps you get into focus, sleep, studying any kind of brain aspect that you're trying to get into. Brain FN had patients go into MRI machines and use specific music to get that person into a different alpha wavelengths within their brain. And so Brain FM is one of the things that I use if I'm having trouble focusing. But when it comes to sleep, they have 8-hour durations that you can use within the app to help you get into more deeper regulated sleep that could be really, really effective of you if you're having a hard time going to sleep. Now I want to talk about nutrition because fuel is different than us being in survival mode. And this is the one that really gets overlooked constantly for clinicians. Because I don't know about you, but I'm notorious for skipping meals, grabbing quick food, running on caffeine. And that puts our bodies into survival mode. And that's going to impact our energy, our mood, our focus, and our emotional regulation when we show up to sessions. And if your body and your blood sugar is crashing, well, your capacity to meet your patient is probably crashing too. One of the things that I like to do is find finger food when it comes to nutrition. because sometimes our metabolism is not always going to go with our schedule that's in our calendar. So there are going to be times where you're rushing between sessions because it just happens. And so being able to get something that you can eat really quick and have accessible to you is going to be foundational when it comes to your nutrition. Plus, I also really want to normalize the fact that it's okay to eat in front of your clients. I know that sounds crazy, but I have asked my clients every single time when I show up to session if it's okay to eat. And I can tell you, not one of them have said it's not. And I want to tell you this, we are a big role model to our clients. We constantly preach self care and showing up for ourselves and regulation. Why wouldn't we be doing the same things within sessions? So if you're showing up with a cheese stick and you're like, hey, I really need to eat food, we are role modeling to our clients that it's okay to regulate ourselves so that we can show up and be the person that we want to be, which is what we're preaching within our sessions. So go ahead. Eat the cheese stick, drink the water. It's completely okay. You are role modeling to your client that we're human and that we deserve to be human and that it's okay to show up a little bit differently each time. But what are we actually doing about it?
Here's a quick note for my clinicians listening. If you're looking for a charting and practice management system that doesn't make you want to scream, well, guess what? I use TherapyNotes. It's clean, reliable, HIPAA compliant, and honestly saves me hours every week. You can try it with my link in the show notes.
I want to talk about movement because in a very sedentary career where we sit a lot, movement is one of those things that we just don't talk about enough. And it's not about aesthetics. I'm not talking about what we need to work out in order to feel better and or look better. It's about our nervous system. And I'm talking about nervous system regulation. And if you're a clinician, you know exactly what I'm talking about because movement helps reduce stress, but it also helps us process our emotional load, improves our focus, and really stabilizes our hormones and our moods. And without it, everything just builds up. So, one of the things that I've started implementing within my practice is having movement buffer times. So, every couple of sessions, especially if it's a very heavy day, I might schedule a 5 to 10 minute break where I'm going outside and walking around. Now, I don't want you to necessarily think about this movement break as something where you have to gain a sweat. It's just moving your body. And I think a lot of clinicians think that we have to be sitting all day, managing our notes, and we're behind a computer a lot. We need to get outside. And if we're able to, let's bring our computer outside if we're really swamped. Let's change the scenery. Let's move around. Let's bring our phone and record ourselves talking or write our dictating our notes, but we're going outside and we're moving around. One of the other things that I think is really important is maybe getting a walking pad. I know those are really got a big hype when COVID came around, but hey, they're really important. And I don't know about you, but I live in Arizona, so we don't have a good environment to go outside and walk around that's necessarily healthy all the time. And so when the weather's nice, yeah, get out and go out. But sometimes we need to get our movement and steps in, and we need to do it in air conditioning because it's just not healthy to go outside and do it. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go into my next session all sweaty and gross. So a walking pad might be able to provide that movement for you. And again, you don't have to get this $600-700 treadmill. You can get something that's pretty reasonably priced to be able to provide you that movement so that you can regulate and show up to your sessions a little bit differently. Now, I want to talk about emotional capacity. And this is the piece that I think is very specific to us as being clinicians, because we are holding other people's emotions and we're doing it all day. We're holding complex dynamics and really heavy conversations. And that task requires a lot of emotional energy on us. And if you're not processing or releasing that, well, it will accumulate, but it will show up a lot differently. It will show up as irritability, fatigue, detachment, and ultimately burnout. And then we're taking that, closing our computer, locking our private practice doors, and going home with that emotional load. So, whether you have a relationship, a family, or you're going home alone, if you don't have an ability to release that emotional load, then you're going to be bringing it home with you. And we should be leaving our work behind our private practice doors. So, one of the things that I have been experimenting with, because I think as time grows and as you become a seasoned clinician, our ability to release our emotional load is going to change and should constantly evolve with us. So, one of the things that I've been doing is doing audiobooks or podcasts or having more conversational connecting pieces while I'm driving home in the car. Now, if you do a lot of telehealth and you're at home, there needs to be a good transition from you leaving your actual physical office in your home before you go straight to the kitchen and start hanging out with your family. And that could be you shut your computer down, you start playing music, and you give yourself 5 to 10 minutes to basically just relax and decompress. One of the things I also do is, even though I may be having these connecting things in the car, when I come home, I'm not really engaging with my family. I go straight up into my room. I'll maybe undress, and that could be going into workout clothes or going into clothes that we're doing. But I give myself that 5 to 10 minute window so that I buffer and transition from going to being a therapist to being a mom or being a wife. And I think we don't give these spaces enough importance and how important they are as we're moving into different roles of our life.
For any clinicians tuning in, if insurance billing is the part of your practice that drains your soul, Headway will be your best friend. They get you credentialed, send you referrals, manage your billing, submit your claims, all the stuff none of us went to grad school for. It's free to join, and honestly, it's been a huge support for therapists who want to take insurance without drowning in the administration part. My link is in the show notes if you want to check it out.
I think also one of the things that is contributing to burnout within clinicians, and I was also part of this drinking Kool-Aid spectrum, is that time off doesn't always fix our burnout, because some people think that I just need a break. And sometimes we do need a break. But if your baseline is sleep deprived and underfueled and dysregulated, a weekend off won't fix that. And as much as I don't like to say it out loud, and I'm sure you don't want to hear it, it won't, because the system you're returning to is the one that's still draining you. And that's why I think we need to have this big shift from sustainability versus survival. Most people are functioning in this survival mode, just like getting through the week. But sustainability actually looks like having enough energy to keep going and recovering between our sessions and not constantly feeling depleted all the time. And that requires a lot of intentional health planning.
Okay, quick pause. Because you've ever found yourself rewinding this episode like 3 times because your brain just drifted, this is for you. I hear this all the time. I can focus, just not when I actually need to. And that's exactly what the focus course is about. Because here's the truth. ADHD isn't a lack of attention, it's a regulation issue, which is why some days you're locked in for hours and other days you're rereading the same sentence, wondering what just happened. So inside my executive functioning focus course, I break this down in a way that actually makes sense for you. We go through how your attention works in your brain, your specific focus patterns, why you get distracted externally and internally, and how to actually build a system that helps you stay on track and come back when you drift. Because the goal isn't perfect focus, it's knowing how to return without spiraling. So if you're tired of blaming yourself and you just want something that actually works with your brain, I'll link the focus course in the show notes. All right, let's get back to this episode.
So let's talk about health planning, and we're going to talk about it from a clinician's perspective. So one of the things is, let's just start off with one area in your life that you want to work on. We do not want to fix everything at once. So I just want you to pick, is it sleep, nutrition, and movement? Just pick one. And then I want you to make a realistic goal for yourself. Not like I'm going to work out every day, but what can I actually sustain and keep going with throughout my week? We're going to support our work. We're not going to compete with it. Your health habits should support your capacity for the work that you do, not feel like another obligation or demand that's being added to your schedule. And then I want you to check if your energy is working for you weekly. I want you to ask, how did it feel this week? When I added and worked on this particular part of aspect of my life, did I show up to my sessions differently? Did I show up to work differently each morning? And not just what I got done or how productive I was, how did I feel? How did I show up? One of the things I really like to use is a balance wheel, and I don't know if you've ever used it with clients, but I can link it in the show notes if you're interested. Is by putting a wheel and putting different aspects. So for using a balance wheel like this, maybe you might put a bunch of different self-care activities. And you rate it from a 0 to 10 on your wheel of how you're doing right now. So you could say my movement is maybe an 8, maybe my sleep is a 5, and you're kind of going around the wheel, but you're looking at how uneven the wheel is and how do I even it out? So if I'm doing really good by working out every day, but then maybe I'm trying to focus on my sleep, well, something has to sacrifice. And that might mean maybe my movement needs to come down a little bit because maybe it's impacting my sleep. So instead of my movement always being an 8, maybe I need to bring it down to a 7 so that maybe I can get my sleep up to a 7. So I do this in a way of just understanding that life is a balance. It's not always a rigidity of working on one thing at a time and being very disciplined and very specific, but that if I give more energy to one thing, where is it coming from? Because I only have so much capacity to give. And is the thing that I'm taking away from something that I'm okay with taking more energy away from it? Hey, if you want to be first in line for the ADHD Planning Stack pilot course, make sure you sign up to get early access, discounts, and extra support. The link is in the show notes. If you're interested in integrating your health into your planning because your schedule just isn't about tasks, it's about how your body supports your work, well, I'm trying to build something sustainable and it has to be a part of a system. And if you're interested in learning about ADHD when it comes to planning and building a system that's actually sustainable for you, look in the show notes for the pilot course where I'm giving 5 free people a chance to plan out their life using my planning layered system. So there's a point where you realize it's not just about managing your time when you're a clinician, it's about managing your capacity and how you're showing up. Because burnout isn't just about doing too much, it's about trying to do meaningful work in a system that really isn't supporting you. And once you start supporting yourself and your body, everything else just becomes so much more sustainable. I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope you're gentle to your mind this week. One more thing before you go, and this helps me personally, staying present and grounded, which we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into disconnection. Me too. It's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really anyone's brain, focus, relax, or sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools or ADHD-friendly resources, I'll keep a list of my favorite links in every episode.